Gotland. Older speakings include Gotland, T-lend, or Gotland, Theta-lend. Gotland in the local language Gutnish is a province, county, municipality, and diocese of Sweden. It is Sweden's largest island. The province includes the small islands of Faroe and Gotska Sanden to the north, as well as the even smaller Kulsa Islands to the west. The population is 57,221, of which about 23,600 live in Visby, the main town. The island of Gotland and the other areas of the province of Gotland make up less than 1% of Sweden's total land area. The island's main sources of income are agriculture along with food processing, tourism, IT solutions, design, and some heavy industry such as concrete production from locally mined limestone. From a military viewpoint, it occupies a strategic location in the Baltic Sea. History. The island is the home of the Guttus, and sites such as Ajvide show that it has been occupied since prehistory. A DNA study conducted on the 5,000-year-old skeletal remains of 3 Middle Neolithic seal hunters from Gotland showed that they were related to modern-day Finns, while a farmer from Gokkum parish in Västergötland on the mainland was found to be more closely related to modern-day Mediterraneans. This is consistent with the spread of agricultural peoples from the Middle East at about that time. The region is considered by some historians to be the original homeland of the Goths. Early on, Gotland became a commercial center, with the town of Visby the most important Hanseatic city in the Baltic Sea. In late medieval times, the island had 20 district courts, each represented by its elected judge at the island ting, called Landsting. New laws were decided at the Landsting, which also took other decisions regarding the island as a whole. Orkneyinga saga was written around 1200 CE by an unknown Icelandic author. The Havasu account is only known to have survived in one single copy in Icelandic Flatey Jarbók from 1387 CE, but may have been written earlier. According to Orkneyinga saga, Norwegian rulers were descendants of King Fornjot who reigned over Gotland, which we now know as Finland and Kvenland. The Havasu account states that a descendant of Fornjot ruled over Gotland, Kvenland, and Finland. Gutasaga contains legends of how the island was settled by Thiluar and populated by his descendants. It also tells that a third of the population had to emigrate and settle in southern Europe, a tradition associated with the migration of the Goths, whose name has the same origin as Guttus, the native name of the people of the island. It later tells that the Guttus voluntarily submitted to the King of Sweden and asserts that the submission was based on mutual agreement, and notes the duties and obligations of the Swedish king and bishop in relationship to Gotland. According to some historians, it is therefore not only an effort to write down the history of Gotland, but also an effort to assert Gotland's independence from Sweden. It gives Westrabane as the name of the man who arranged the mutually beneficial agreement with the King of Sweden. The event would have taken place before the end of the 9th century, when Wulfstan of Hedeby reported that the island was subject to the Swedes. The discovery of Muscovy, then, after the land of the Burgundians. We had on our left the lands that have been called from the earliest times Blekinge, and Muir, and Eoland, and Gotland, all which territory is subject to the Swedes, and Nordland was all the way on our right, as far as Weiselmouth. The city of Visby and rest of the island were governed separately, and a civil war caused by conflicts between the German merchants in Visby and the peasants they traded with in the countryside had to be put down by King Magnus III of Sweden in 1288. In 1361, Valdemar Atterdag of Denmark invaded the island. The Vittel brothers occupied the island in 1394 to set up a stronghold as a headquarters of their own in Visby. At last Gotland became a fief of the Teutonic Knights, awarded to them on the condition that they expel the piratical Vittel brothers from their fortified sanctuary. An invading army of Teutonic Knights conquered the island in 1398, destroying Visby and driving the Vittel brothers from Gotland. In 1409 Grand Master Ulrich von Jungingen of the Teutonic Knights guaranteed peace with the Kalmar Union of Scandinavia by selling the island of Gotland to Queen Margaret of Denmark, Norway and Sweden. The number of Arab dirhams discovered on the island of Gotland alone is astoundingly high. In the various hoards located around the island, there are more of these silver coins than at any other site in Western Eurasia. The total sum is almost as great as the number that has been unearthed in the entire Muslim world. These coins moved north through trade between Rus merchants and the Abbasid Caliphate, along the Silver Fur Road, and the money made by Scandinavian merchants would help northern Europe, especially Viking Scandinavia and the Carolingian Empire, as major commercial centers for the next several centuries. The Berezin runestone, discovered in 1905 in Ukraine, was made by a Varangian trader named Grana in memory of his business partner Karl. It is assumed that they were from Gotland. The Mastermai chest, an important artifact from the Viking Age, was found in Gotland. The authority of the Landsting was successively eroded after the island was occupied by the Teutonic Order, then sold to Eric of Pomerania, and after 1449 ruled by Danish governors. In late medieval times, the Ting consisted of 12 representatives for the farmers, freeholders or tenants. Since the Treaty of Bromsbro in 1645, the island has remained under Swedish rule. On 19 September 1806, the Swedish government offered sovereignty of Gotland to the Order of St. John of Jerusalem, who had been expelled from Malta in 1798. But the order rejected the offer since it would have meant renouncing their claim to Malta. The order never regained its territory, and eventually it re-established itself in Rome as the Sovereign Military Order of Malta. Spilling's hoard. On 16 July 1999, the world's largest Viking silver treasure, the Spilling's hoard, was found in a field at Spilling's farm northwest of Slite. The silver treasure was divided into two parts weighing a total of 67 kilograms and 40 kilograms, and consisted mostly of coins, about 14,000, from foreign countries, mostly Islamic. It also contained about 20 kilograms of bronze objects along with numerous everyday objects such as nails, glass beads, parts of tools, pottery, iron bands and clasps. The treasure was found by using a metal detector, and the finder's fee, given to the farmer who owned the land, was over 2 million crowns. The treasure was found almost by accident while filming a news report for TV4 about illegal treasure hunting on Gotland. Administration. The traditional provinces of Sweden serve no administrative or political purposes today, but are historical and cultural entities. In the case of Gotland, however, due to its insular position, the administrative county, Gotland County, and the municipality, Gotland Municipality, both cover the same territory as the province. Furthermore, the Diocese of Visby is also congruent with the province. Sockins. Gotland is traditionally divided into 92 sockins. Heraldry. Gotland was granted its arms in about 1560. The coat of arms is represented with a ducal coronet, blazon, azure ramstatant argent armed or holding on a cross staff of the same banagules bordered and with 5 tails at the third. The county was granted the same coat of arms in 1936. The municipality, created in 1971, uses the same picture, but with other tinctures. The Gotlandic flag displays the Gotlandic coat of arms, white on red ground, known from the 13th century in the shape of the seal of the Gutnish Republic with the proud ram. It reads, Gutensis signo ex pistis signature in agno. Geography. Gotland is Sweden's largest island, and it is the largest island fully encompassed by the Baltic Sea. With its total area of 3,183.7 square kilometers, the island of Gotland and the other areas of the province of Gotland make up 0.8% of Sweden's total land area. The province includes the small islands of Faroe and Gotska Sanden to the north, as well as the Karlsö Islands, to the west, which are even smaller. The island of Gotland has an area of 2,994 square kilometers, whereas the province has 3,183.7 square kilometers, 3,151 square kilometers of land excluding the lakes and rivers. The population is 57,221, of which about 23,600 live in Visby, the seat of the municipality as well as the capital of the county. About 2/5 of the island's population live in Visby. Gotland is located about 90 kilometers east of the Swedish mainland and about 130 kilometers from the Baltic states, Latvia being the nearest. Gotland is the name of the main island, but the adjacent islands are generally considered part of Gotland in the Gotlandic culture. Furulin, Faroe, Gotska Sanden, a national park of Sweden. The Karlsö Islands, Lausholmaya, Uthaman, Östergarnsholm. There are several shallow lakes located near shores of the island. The biggest is Lake Bastuträsk, located near Fluinga in the northern part of Gotland. Gotland contains many popular beaches, such as Tofta Strand and Hundfria Strand. The highest point of the island is Lodstad, which stands 82 meters above sea level. Geology. Gotland is made up of a sequence of sedimentary rocks of a Silurian age, dipping to the southeast. The main Silurian succession of limestones and shales comprises 13 units spanning 200 to 500 meters of stratigraphic thickness, being thickest in the south, and overlies a 75 to 125 meters thick Ordovician sequence. It was deposited in a shallow, hot and salty sea, on the edge of an equatorial continent. The water depth never exceeded 175 to 200 meters, and shallowed over time as biochem detritus and terrestrial sediments filled the basin. Reef growth started in the Klandovery, when the sea was 50 to 100 meters, and reefs continued to dominate the sedimentary record. Some sandstones are present in the youngest rocks towards the south of the island, which represent sandbars deposited very close to the shoreline. The lime rocks have been weathered into characteristic karstic rock formations known as rauks. Fossils, mainly of rugose corals and brachiopods, are abundant throughout the island. Paleo-sea stacks are preserved in places. Economy. The island's main sources of income are agriculture along with food processing, tourism, IT solutions, design and some heavy industry such as concrete production from locally mined limestone. Most of Gotland's economy is based on small-scale production. In 2012, there were over 7,500 registered companies on Gotland. 1,500 of these had more than one employee. Military. Gotland occupies a strategic location in the Baltic Sea from a defense viewpoint. The Swedish government decided in March 2015 to begin re-establishing a permanent military presence on Gotland, starting with an initial 150-troop garrison, consisting primarily of elements from the Swedish Army. It has been reported that the bulk of this initial garrison will make up a new motorized rifle battalion, alternatively referred to in other reports as a modular structured rapid response army battalion. A later report claimed that plans were at an advanced stage for a support helicopter squadron and an Air Force fast response grip and jet squadron to also be based on the island to support the new garrison and further reinforce the defenses. Prior to the disbandment of the original garrison, there had been a continuous Swedish military presence on Gotland in one form or another, for nearly 200 years. After the standing down of the original garrison, a battalion of the Swedish Home Guard is based on Gotland for emergencies as part of the Eastern Military Region. The Unit 32, a Gotland's Bataljonen, acts as a reserve component of the Swedish Amphibious Corps. Among the residual war reserve stocks reported to be still in storage on Gotland in March 2015, were 14 tanks at the Toftaskute Fault, but without any crews or dedicated maintenance personnel assigned to them. Gotland currently has no local air defense capability, despite its importance as a naval base in the past. As of 2004 update, there are no naval units based out of Gotland. The Tofta firing range itself is a military training ground which is located 8 kilometers south of Visby. Another less common name for the range is the Toftasjön firing range, tracing its origins back to 1898. As of 2008, the range extended over 2,700 acres. It was a major training and storage facility for the Gotland garrison during its existence, and was still occasionally used for training by various elements of the armed forces since the garrison was shut down in 2005. However, from the second half of 2014 onwards, there has been a marked increase in the use of the range, especially by armored units, as tensions in northeastern Europe have escalated. At least one of the buildings on the range, the former tank repair shop, is currently owned by a private company, with the military renting back the top floor for its own use. When not used by the military, a number of cultural and sports events have been held at the range, one of the most notable being the Gotland Grand National, the world's largest enduro race. Tourism. The first modern-day tourists came to Gotland during the 19th century and were known as bathers. Gotland became very popular with socialites at the time through Princess Eugenie, who lived in Västerhöjda, in the west part of the island from the 1860s. When a new law ensuring 2 weeks vacation for all employees in Sweden was passed in 1938, camping became a popular pastime among the Swedes. And in 1955, Gotland was visited by 80,000 people. In the 1970s, mostly young people were attracted to Gotland. Since 2010, the island has become a more versatile vacation spot visited by people from all over the world, in all manner of ways. Gotland is one of Sweden's most noted tourist destinations. In 2001, it was the 5th largest tourist destination in Sweden, based on the total number of guest nights. Gotland is usually the part of Sweden which receives the most hours of sunlight during a year, with Visby statistically the location with the most sunshine in Sweden. In 2007, approximately 750,000 people visited Gotland. In 1996, for the first time, ferries between Gotland and mainland Sweden carried more than 1 million passengers in a year. In 2007, the number of passengers exceeded 1.5 million. In 2012, the ferries had 1,590,271 passengers and the airlines 327,255 passengers. Cruise ships and new pier. The main port of call on Gotland is Visby. The city is visited by a number of cruise ships every year. About 40 cruise lines frequent the Baltic Sea, with Visby as one of their destinations. In 2005, 147 ships docked at Visby. In 2010, the number was 69. In 2014, 62 ships have scheduled to visit Visby. The decrease in visiting ships is due to the fact that the modern cruise ships are too large to enter Visby harbour. Ships must anchor a fair distance from shore, whereupon passengers are shuttled to shore in small boats, which is not possible during bad weather. In 2007, the first proposition for building a new pier at Visby harbour, large enough to serve the modern cruise ships, was made. In 2011, the matter of the new pier was discussed in the Riksdag, and in 2012 research and planning for the pier began. In January 2014, a letter of intent for building a new cruise pier in Visby harbour was signed by Region Gotland in Copenhagen, Malmö Port. The pier is scheduled to be finished in 2018. The estimated cost is 250 million crowns. Culture. A number of stones with grooves exist on Gotland. Archaeologists interpret these grooves as traces of an unknown industrial process in the High Middle Ages. There are approximately 3,700 grinding grooves, of which about 750 occur in the solid limestone outcrop and the rest in other rock formations. The latter often consist of hard rocks such as granite or gneiss, but also soft rocks such as sandstone occur. Grinding grooves are also found in Skane, in southern Sweden and in Finland. Astronomer Göran Henriksson dates a number of these grinding grooves to the Stone Age, from c. 3300 BCE to c. 2000 BCE, based on astronomical alignments, although his methodology has been heavily criticized. The medieval town of Visby has been entered as a site of the UNESCO World Heritage Program. An impressive feature of Visby is the fortress wall that surrounds the old city, dating from the 13th century. The inhabitants of Gotland traditionally spoke their own language, known as Gutnish. Today, however, they have adapted a dialect of Swedish that is known as Gotländska. In the 13th century, a work containing the laws of the island, called the Gotlandic Law, was published in the ancient Gutnish language. Gotland is famous for its 94 medieval churches, most of which are restored and in active use. These churches exhibit two major styles of architecture, Romanesque and Gothic. The older churches were constructed in the Romanesque style from 1150 to 1250. The newer churches were constructed in the Gothic architectural style that prevailed from about 1250 to 1400. The oldest painting inside one of the churches on Gotland stretches as far back in time as the 12th century. Traditional games of skill like Kubb, Park, and Varpar are played on Gotland. They are part of what has become called Gutnakalekar, and are performed preferably on the Midsummer's Eve celebration on the island, but also throughout the summer months. The games have widespread renown, some of them are played by people as far away as in the United States. The knotwork design, subsequently named the Valnut, has the most attested historic instances on picture stones in Gotland, which include being on both the Stora Hammar's Eye and the Tangelgada stones. Gotland also has a rich heritage of folklore, including myths about the bison, DSMA and Ardjordi, Hoburg's Gubbin and the Marty Bolites. Gotland gives its name to the traditional farmhouse ale Gotlandsdricka, a turbid beer with much in common with Finnish sahti, and related beers from the Baltic states.